morning, everyone. My name is Stephen Howson. This is Stretford, Paddock. And as the headline says, we're going to be talking about the protests potentially happening at Old Trafford tonight. Went past Old Trafford a little earlier, and there are already ranks and ranks of security and police preparing for what they're expecting to be another protest tonight. So the article that we're going off, the United Fear attacks, this is in the Telegraph. And this is what they've had to say on the following. So, obviously, a heavy security presence is expected at Old Trafford, and that United fear that fans are going to target the team hotel and bus. And they're saying heavy security presence expected around Old Trafford in an attempt to prevent supporters causing a second match postponement. We've also got someone from Mail Sport saying that United have adopted a siege mentality with players sworn to secrecy over their preparations and staff given information on a need-to-know basis to avoid leaks and limiting the security threat. Supposedly, the club are not staying at the Lowry anymore amidst all of this lot. But here's the problem. For those who don't know, I was in the armed forces. I served in Afghanistan. I served in Iraq. There's comparisons to be made here in terms of when and where things are attacked. And I'm not condoning the attacking of players, the buses. I would say go and protest outside Old Trafford. But if you are of the mind that you want this to be cancelled or you're looking for this to be stopped, you don't attack the strongest points. You don't get attacked when you're in a camp or a fob. You get attacked when you're on patrol, as that is when you're vulnerable. So for all the security measures United want to put in place, they still have to drive down roads. It takes two people to stop traffic on a road. It takes two people to block up a dual carriageway. What they're talking about is, I understand that United are going to want to get this ahead, and I think that the possible sanctions of point deductions and that sort of thing are probably very real, and the threat of those is probably very real. But they're forgetting that it's actually extremely easy for anyone that wants to cause havoc to cause havoc. It doesn't matter. There's pretty much two directions that the players can come to the ground from. One's down Chester Road and the other is through Trafford Park. There's not really any other way that you can get to the ground apart from maybe coming from the Salford direction and coming across the Ship Canal. There's not a million different... It's not like there's 25 different ways. All of those routes are easily blocked up and easy to prevent certainly a team bus coming through it. The other options that you've got are the players going to come in their own cars? Do the players want to come in their own cars? One thing that you can potentially do is you can probably get the players in there this afternoon. Boring? Absolutely. Necessary? Maybe. They're also forgetting that you need referees, opposition, match balls. If the sort of groups that are involved in these more intense protests, I will say, I'm not going to call them violent because I don't believe they are, the ones that are actually actively looking to cancel these games, you've got to remember that they're United fans, primarily. You've got to remember that the stewards that work at Old Trafford are United fans primarily. That's why they get the job there. There's so many places that this could all come crumbling down. It's not necessarily about United getting to the ground. There's a lot of people need to get to the ground before this match can take place. From the opposition to, like I said, the match balls. What happens if you turn up and there's no match balls? Because someone who's a steward has taken them and hidden them. I'm almost certain that you can't just nick down to JD Sports or Sports Direct and just pick up some footies that they've got in them bins outside, free for a tenner. And then if the ground has got protests going on outside, how do you get anything that you've brought down to the ground into the ground? I honestly think that there's so much that could happen if the people... honestly, you only need 20 people that say, this game's not happening, and this game will not happen. I'd like to see the game go ahead. I'd like to see another protest, but I would like to see the game go ahead because I think if it does rumble on, all we're going to get is points deductions and reschedules that harms the team in the long run. Now, I am absolutely behind the protest. I just think let the game go ahead this time. But like I said, if people want to get the game cancelled, they will. And it's as simple as that one. Right, the next one I was going to be talking about today was Casey Stoney is retired. She's resigned. And it seems like she's resigned because she's been unhappy with some of the training conditions that the Manchester United women's team have been facing in the last few months. This, to me, is indicative of what's going on at the club and indicative of why people are protesting. Nicky Butt and Casey Stoney, from everything I've heard, read about them, they are football people to their core who want the absolute best for Manchester United. And the fact that those two people have resigned, Nicky Butt's not really come out and said why he resigned. I think we can all just read between the lines on this. The fact that those two people have felt strongly enough to quit their jobs tells me that there's some things that people are not happy with in the hierarchy and the running of Manchester United. And I think Casey Stoney going is bad. It almost feels like there's some sort of box-ticking exercise going on at the club. Like there was so much pressure to get a women's team. They've got a women's team. To my knowledge, they train and obviously they play out of Leigh Sports Village. Again, Leigh, for those who aren't up to speed with the geography of Manchester and Greater Manchester, Leigh is actually miles away from Manchester. It's a hell of a drive away. Why are they not put up at Carrington? And if they are put up at Carrington, why are the facilities not to the same standard as the men's? Why are they not treated the same? There's temporary prefab sort of accommodation for offices at Carrington. I believe that they're going to be demolished soon because they only have temporary planning permission. So they're going to be moving some of the academy players out of classrooms to accommodate these coaches' offices and these analysis offices. Well, weren't those classrooms built for the academy to be getting their education? Where's that now going to take place? We're being overtaken in the running of the club. We were so well run up until 2005 that it's almost taken a decade or more for it to start unraveling. Almost taken a decade or more. Sir Alex Ferguson was an absolute genius dealing with what he was dealing with. When you look at the 5 years that preceded the Glazer takeover and see how much money Fergie spent. Now, the club was killing it commercially at the time, absolutely killing it. And we brought in, from Ruud van Nistelrooy to Veron, to Rio Ferdinand for a world record fee for a defender, to Wayne Rooney for a world record fee for a teenager, to Cristiano Ronaldo. We made some absolute banging transfers, really pushed the boat out. And that's not even including the smaller transfers, of which there was dozens. Signing the likes of Giuseppe Rossi, signing the likes of Gerard Piqué, picking up some top players from around the world and developing them into first-team players. That was the 5 years that preceded the Glazers. The next 8 years, Manchester United made a profit on transfers. We lost the best player in the world in Cristiano Ronaldo and replaced him with Michael Owen on a free, Gabriel Obertan, and Antonio Valencia, who I'm going to talk about in a little bit. Valencia had a good career, but he wasn't Ronaldo. Sir Alex Ferguson signed Veron when he had Keane and Scholes in midfield. Do you think that the person changes 10 years later? He doesn't. He's still the kind of guy that wants Keane, Veron and Scholes in the midfield. He's still the kind of guy that wants to go get Ruud van Nistelrooy when he's got the likes of Andy Cole, when he's got top strikers at the club. This is who Sir Alex Ferguson was. What he did once the Glazers took over was he had to cut his cloth accordingly. He had to come out with phrases that we all know are bollocks. No value in the market. Look at the value Madrid have had out of Karim Benzema for the last decade. That could have been United getting that sort of value. There's been some sensational moves happen in the time that Fergie was saying there was no value in the market. I think Casey Stoney, Nicky Butt, it all links into why Manchester United fans are protesting at the moment. All of it links into the fact that they don't care about us. And I find it unfathomable Because if they was making massive dividends year after year, I'd go, I get it. They're making 500 million a year profit, but they're not. The dividends that they're taking out aren't even as close as the debt repayments have been. If you came to me as a mate and said, Steve, I've got this business idea, and I was like, talk to me. And you say, right, well, I'm going to have this thing. I'm going to buy it with a mortgage and a load of debt because I haven't actually got any money to put down myself. I'll be like, all right, that's crazy, but carry on. And you say, right, then all of the profit that I make, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pay 90% of that back to the bank. I'm only going to take a tiny little bit out for myself, and everyone involved in that business is going to hate me. I'll be like, mate, what are you doing? You don't need this stress. Now, okay, they're making millions of pounds, but these are people that are supposedly net worth of billions. This makes no sense to me on a business sense why they would run Manchester United like this. And you can't run football clubs and sports teams especially like regular businesses. If you've got a supermarket chain, if you've got a car tire place, you can run that in a certain way. You can't run sports entities like regular business because they're not regular business. No one stands in the middle of a street because Quick Fit got a better sale than ATS tires. It doesn't happen. They're not regular businesses. They're things that people buy into emotionally through generation after generation after generation. My dad never took me to Quick Fit and said, listen, I'm taking you to Quick Fit to change your tires because that's where my dad took me to change my tires when I first got my... Can you imagine that? That's not how it works, but that's how it works with sports teams. And you also can't treat your playing staff and the facilities that you afford that playing staff the same way that you would treat workers and the canteen at Asda. You can't do that. You have to constantly be innovating, constantly pursuing excellence, constantly trying to find a way to be successful. And when you've got 4 or 5 clubs in one country that are aiming to be the best, the number one, the top of the tree, you can't compete with that when you're saying, what's the minimum spend that we could do to stay into the Champions League? And you know that that's what they're trying to do because you saw it with what they tried to do with the European Super League. They don't want to compete. They want the free wristband to just get on the ride every single time. That's what they want. I guess I went off on a bit of a tangent there, but point stands. Casey Stoney has resigned, and I think she's happy days. Righty, next one. David De Gea, AS Roma. The rumours of that happening are fake news, according to Fabrizio Romano. He says there's no talks or contacts being made, so put that in the shit pile. And as I said earlier, Antonio Valencia has retired from football. He spent 10 years at United, winning 9 trophies, including 2 Premier League titles, an FA Cup and a Europa League. And if you saw the announcement, he didn't say, dear everybody, dear the club I'm playing for now. He addressed it directly to Manchester United fans, and I kind of like that, to be fair. So, yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. Right, give the video a like if you hate the Glazers. Let's see what some of you guys are saying. Machiavelli Don says, quick fit away days. Someone says, B&Q or a Wicks fan. Yeah, Fergie should have defied the Glazers when he had the power. We would have backed him. Ross, you're right, we would have done, but I don't think we understand everything. I think there's probably more stuff going on there. And, you know, it's one of those, I guess. Don't understand why the Glazers don't want a debt-free asset. Surely the value would be far higher, plus from a risk management point of view, says Mark. I agree, mate. And here's the problem. The TV revenue went up unexpectedly. There was no one predicting that the TV revenue would rise from the hundreds of millions, I think it was like 700 or 800 million when they took over, to the 5 billion, which it became a couple of years ago. No one predicted that. And actually what people were predicting, even when it was at 800 million, was this has peaked and it's going to go backwards from here. The bubble is about to burst. This was 3 years on from the Leeds-Carlton debacle where they went tits up because they was banking on season ticket money and also money from the ITV Carlton deal. For those of you not aware, ITV Carlton was basically like a bit of an upstart rival to Sky based on cable, and I think they bid for TV rights I think it was the Champions League and it was something else. And I think it might have been the Football League, because I think a lot of the Football League got screwed up by that. And I think the way that they collapsed owing people money, or they might not have owed money, but people might have banked on the money that they thought they was going to get down the line. It impacted Leeds, and Leeds went all the way down to League One because they had to have a complete fire sale. Now, the reason that we were protesting in 2005 at the Glazers taking us over and putting £660 million worth of debt is because we feared what had happened with Leeds could happen with Manchester United. If we became insolvent and couldn't maintain those £100 million, you got to think £100 million is more than we paid for transfers in a season ever. So the fact that we was leveled with £100 million worth of debt repayments a season, it was scary to a lot of people. Now, it's only through the good fortune of the TV rights rising through the roof that we've been able to find this and keep this thing going. But that's not to say that something around like the COVID pandemic could have done it. If Sky and all the rest of them would have said, hey, we ain't paying our bill, soz, laters. Like, how would United would we have paid the players? Would we have paid the people that we owe? United owe 250 million in transfers that we've just put on credit on the never, never. Like, if everyone would have called their debts in from United and we wouldn't have had the broadcast revenue, we could have easily gone bankrupt. And that's still something that hangs over us today. You know, BT Sport are trying to sell their sport arm, which tells me that they don't think it's all sunshine and rainbows in broadcasting the football. So I think ultimately the business model is shit. There's no two ways around it. It's just shit. And United have been very lucky that we've not gone tits up in this time. That being said, cheers for tuning in. If the game is on tonight, or if it's not, we'll be covering it here on Stretford Paddock. So make sure to tune back in for the watch along. Nice one for tuning in. Hope you have a good day in between now and the match, and I'll see you later. Ta-da.